Hello everyone, welcome back to another Genshin Impact video. My name is ArcRevner and I like to play games, and today we're going to be briefly going over Albedo, his viability as a playable character, and what artifacts and weapons I think might work best on him if you decide to summon for him. If you end up learning anything from this video, or if you think it might help you make a decision down the line, please consider liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing for more Genshin Impact content. On that note, I want to say thank you guys so much for 200 subscribers. This is crazy. We were just at 100 not too long ago, so I really wanted to say thanks for all the kind words and support, because it really does mean a lot to me. I know that milestones like 500 and 1000 are a long way off, but maybe we can actually make it happen someday. So, thanks again. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Albedo. So, as I mentioned before in a previous video, I think that miHoYo really messed up by not showing off Albedo sooner. He's currently the least anticipated 5-star by a fairly large margin, and I don't think that's due to him being a bad character, but rather because he's so fresh in everyone's minds that people haven't gotten attached to him as a character. However, miHoYo's doing a really good job fleshing out Albedo's character and showing off his talents in the most recent official promo videos, so I'm a little more excited for him now. I'm still on the fence on whether I will personally be summoning for him or not, but I have put a lot of thought into how I would build him, and I thought I'd share it with you guys since someone asked for a build guide for Albedo. Okay, let's start with Albedo's base kit. Although I think that Albedo could be a main DPS if you wanted him to be, I think he's far more suited to be a DPS support unit. Because of this, if I were to build him, I would favor leveling up his skill and burst damage before leveling up his basic attacks. Essentially, I would use him similarly to Aventi or Mona, using him for setups and skill and burst damage. If I had to give an order to importance regarding his talents, I would go first with his burst, then skill, then auto attacks. For his weapon, I think Albedo actually has a lot of good options. If you're lucky enough to get a 5-star weapon, I would probably say that the Skyward Blade is probably his best in slot weapon due to the high base stats as well as the energy recharge substat. This will allow him to hit hard while gaining energy recharge quickly to ult spam as much as possible. The additional crit rate and additional effects are great bonuses, so this weapon is really good. Aquila Favonia is also good, but the physical bonus damage is something that his kit can't really synergize well with, though it might make him a more well-rounded unit, so that's something to consider. Summit Shaper is also a great weapon if you can maintain his shield on him. That's the key point. If you can maintain the shield on him. But since he doesn't get a shield through his main kit and he relies on crystallizing shields, I wouldn't run this unless if you have a Zhongli, Noelle, Diona, or Xinyan on your team. Also, I personally think that this is by far the worst weapon banner that we've had, and I will probably be skipping this weapon banner in favor of future banners, so that's something to consider. As for 4-star weapon options, I think his best weapons are probably going to be the Battle Pass Sword for the crit rate, and surprisingly the Favonius Sword for the energy recharge and the passives to get even more energy when you crit. This way you can ult spam more often. The new weapon Festering Desire might also be a great option on him because of the energy recharge as well as the big boost to his skill damage and his skill crit rate. The Flute and Prototype Rancor could also be decent options if you don't have the other options. And the Royal and Blackcliff longswords look like they would work well on him as well, but I typically wouldn't recommend them since they're only available through the shop, and I would recommend spending your Masterless Star Glitter on characters or extra wishes before buying any weapons. Not to mention their bonus effects are extremely situational. As for artifacts, I think you actually have a few options, but what I personally plan on using for him is a 2-piece Noblesse Oblige and a 2-piece Archaic Petra. This will give him a big boost to his burst while stacking more Geo, which his kit seems to demand. This in my opinion is probably his best in slot set, but I do think you have a couple more options if that doesn't fit your playstyle. If you want to go full support, you could also go with a full Noblesse for the burst damage and the extra attack when you switch out to a new character. You could also go full Petra for the Geo bonus damage as well as the extra attack while shielded by a crystallized shield. Boosting your team's elemental damage could prove very useful and make him a better support. If you want him to be your main damage dealer, you could end up going for a 2-piece Gladiator, 2-piece Petra set if you want to keep him out on the field longer. For your main stat rolls on your artifacts, I think you'll probably want attack or energy recharge for the sands, Geo bonus damage for the goblet, and crit rate or crit damage for the circlet. I think that you could go for a defense stance, but I'd really only go for that if you end up getting Constellation 2, but we'll get into that later. As for substats, I think order of importance will be crit rate, crit damage, then energy recharge, then defense percent, then attack percent, then elemental mastery, and finally flat attack and defense. Remember, Albedo is one of the only characters in the game that's damage scales with their defense, so those substat rolls will be worth getting. Okay, let's quickly go over his constellations. Obviously, I think that you should do whatever you personally want to do, but I personally think the only constellation that is really good is C2. That's the highest I personally would go for his constellations. Albedo seems to be a character that is pretty good as is, so I don't think any constellations are really necessary in order to make him work. But if you want to make his kit a bit spicier, then you can go for it. C1 is great because it grants you 1.2 energy while using his skill rather than 1. This will help you get up his burst faster, which really seems to be what makes him shine as a unit. Though I think you can actually get around this with energy recharge substats or a weapon that has energy recharge. But it's really C2 that interests me. C2 grants Albedo Fatal Reckoning, which can stack up to 4 times when an enemy is hit with a Transcendent Blossom. Fatal Reckoning increases Albedo's damage by 30% of Albedo's defense, so that's up to 120% of Albedo's defense that you can get if you manage to get all 4 stacks. Using his burst consumes all the Fatal Reckoning stacks, dealing increased damage. Like I mentioned earlier, this is when you could actually probably start using defense main stat artifacts to maximize the effect of this damage. But besides C2, the other constellations look way less appealing for the amount of primos that you'll have to spend. I personally probably wouldn't go any higher unless if he's your absolute favorite. C4 will be good synergy with Xiao when he comes out, and C6 would provide a bit more team synergy, but ask yourself if it's worth it before going all in. Alright, that's all for today. If this video helped you at all, please let me know in the comments down below and gently press that like button. Also, consider subscribing for more Genshin Impact content. Again, thanks so much for 200 subscribers, it really does mean a lot. Thanks so much for hanging in there with me and supporting me. Hopefully we can keep growing one step at a time. Alright, until next time everyone, best wishes. Bye!